their vision for our school district. And just by the way, just so you know, that restrooms are right through that door there, the exit sign there, and so if you need the restrooms, they're right back there. And we are going to start out here. First, let me say how pleased I am that you've made an effort to be here this evening. It's an honor to have you with us, and I'm grateful for a community that is concerned and involved with the education of our children. I also want to make a thank you here to my staff for making sure everything was up and running and taking care of things here this evening. And our security team is here, and just in case there's an issue, I don't think there will be, but just in case, they're here, and just appreciate them taking time out of their schedule to be here tonight. Now, I'm excited. We have all 8 candidates for the Dover School Board present with us this evening. And some of those I was a little slow trying to get them tracking them down, and so some of them had short notice, but they came anyway, changed their schedule to be here, and I think that says something as well, and I appreciate that. I believe that all these candidates have the welfare of our students in mind and in heart. I really believe that. This is not a paid position, and it requires time and effort, probably a lot of aspirin and Tylenol, and along the way, they're here seeking the opportunity to serve our district. I know they want the best for our students, and the question is, of course, what's their definition of best? And that's what we're here to find out this evening. I also understand that some may think we're maybe making a little much out of this, but those elected will be making decisions for our children and thus our community for the next 4 years. 4 years is a student's entire high school career, at least it's supposed to be. And during those informative years, the philosophy of life can be greatly affected. And many of us have had high school teachers or coaches that have had significant impacts on our lives and even set the course for our own futures. Thus, who we place in this position can have a dramatic impact on the future society. Abraham Lincoln once said, "The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next." Believe it or not, one of these days our children will be the school board members. They will be the teachers, the community leaders. And our future will be determined by how we train these leaders, these young people today. And how we train these children today will determine how they lead us tomorrow. A wise man once said, "Train your child in the way he should go because he's choosing your nursing home." Now, I understand that we will not all have the same values and priorities. We're not here to debate these, nor to attempt to change minds or change opinions. We are here simply to understand where the candidates stand on the issues. I know we all want to be heard and have our say, but this evening, the candidates get to have their say. We get to have our say on Tuesday. Some may say, I feel like I need to address this just so you know, because there may be somebody here who's got an issue with this. I don't know, maybe. Some may say that church has no business being involved in politics. But I've raised my children, but I have grandchildren, and my grandchildren are not a political issue, they're a personal issue. And politics is involved in the personal issues of raising our children, thus it becomes business of all of us. And when I became a pastor, I did not lose my rights as a citizen of this nation. Now, actually, historically, in early America, it was not unusual for the church building to be used for public and political events because it was often the only meeting house large enough to hold the crowd. However, allow me to remind you that this is not public property. This is private property. Therefore, we ask that you will kind of abide by our rules of decorum here. And if after you've been reminded to abide by the rules, you're unable to hold to our rules, you may be asked to leave the premises. That'd be a terrible thing to say, but I want to say it up front. If you refuse, I hate to say it, but the Northern Regional Police are on standby. They know we're having a meeting. And you just never know these days what may happen. I assume that we have our Doverites here are good people and everything's going to be fine. But I wanted you to know that's where we are. And so now, By the way, we can disagree, but we don't have to be disagreeable. All right? So let me lay out a few ground rules here for this evening so we can accomplish what we came here to do. And that is to hear the positions of our candidates. The ground rules are also in place so we can do things decently and in order, respectfully and fairly, the best we can. Now, I'm going to encourage the audience to refrain from responding to the answers given by the candidates. Here's why. I do not want to influence their answers. If they realize that the audience seems to like a certain twist on the answer, they may adjust their answer to attempt to please the crowd. If a certain answer seems to agitate the audience, then they may avoid saying some things, even though it may be part of their philosophy. So I don't know about you, but I want to know, I want them to be oblivious to our thoughts, so they will give a true response of their thoughts. And that way we can actually see what they truly think, and we can vote accordingly with some sense of confidence of what they're going to do once they're in office. That's my goal. And we probably will not get to every question, but we'll do the best we can. We will not have time to discuss specific programs or budget items. We are looking more of a philosophical issues and vision for the district. I believe you will see where we're going pretty quick. Also, I would appreciate that we each use polite demeanors and polite language. If you would, I would appreciate it. And now, like I said, this is private property. It happens to be a church. So if you will indulge me, please, I'm going to have a word of prayer. If you don't want to pray, that's fine. Just if you would just indulge us here for a moment. Let's pray. Father, I thank you for the opportunity to be here. I thank you for our Dover community. I thank you for the ones who serve our community. Give many hours of time and energy and effort to be of help to the rest of the community. And I truly believe that each one of these candidates here has the welfare of our school district in mind and the children and so forth. But we do know that there's differences in philosophy and differences in perspectives, and so Lord, we want to hear these tonight. Now, Lord, I pray that you will guide our thoughts and guide what we do here tonight. Give us wisdom, protect us, and we pray that what's done here will be honoring, pleasing to you. We thank you, and we ask in the name of our dear Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, here we go. Each candidate will be given equal time to answer each question. The time limit will be given according to the question. And if you cannot answer within the allotted time, we will assume that you haven't had a time to fully consider that issue yet. And by the way, the candidates are seated in alphabetical order. So that's how they got where they are. Now, I will begin with the first candidate on the left, and then we will follow through each candidate, and then the next question will begin with the second candidate and follow from the left and wrap around and so on. And again, there's a lot of answers here, and sometimes debates, everybody doesn't get a chance to put their 2 cents in. I want everybody to be able to put their 2 cents in because that's what we're here for. And you know as well as I do, some debates we've seen, one particular person monopolizes the entire conversations and we never get to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. So that's why we have that screen over there. And now we need to answer clear and concise. And the initial questions that I'm going to give you after the first question, starting with the second question, after that, each of these are going to be 90 seconds. Then we will probably have some little further in, and at the end it'll be around 30 seconds each because they're pretty quick answers, kind of a yes and no type of thing. And then at the very end, you're going to have the opportunity to make a 90-second statement to the congregation here, and just kind of the last thing they're going to hear come out of your mouth, and what you want them to remember by the time the night is over. And So now here's how it works. The clock will start with a minute. The first question here is just going to simply to introduce yourself. You got one minute, and then when it gets about 15 seconds to the end, you'll see it go backwards. It'll turn yellow, and then it'll turn red in the last 5 seconds, and then it'll go into 10 seconds negative, which I'd rather you not take. But if you do, at the end of those 10 seconds, your microphone will go off. This is the truth, all right? And because otherwise we'll be here all night, and we all want to make sure we do it decently and in order. I hope all that sounds familiar to you. And by the way, if someone has an answer, you say it's basically the same thing. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. All right, but here we go. So the first thing, we're going to start with Mr. David Conley, and we're going to go down here 60 seconds. Introduce yourself, give a little background, the reasons why you're entering the race, whatever you think is appropriate at this point.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for coming tonight. My name is David Conley. I'm a retired senior manager in air traffic control, and I retired in the state of Colorado. I moved here to be near my grandchildren 2 years ago. And when I got here, I was very surprised to see that my property taxes on the exact same size and value property were 5 times higher than they were in Colorado. I was not expecting that. I expected higher, but not that much higher. So my first board meeting that I attended was to find out what was going on in the school districts that required so much money. What I found out after attending school board meetings for now 2 years is there's a lot of help that the school needs, a lot of help that the school board needs, and I'd like to be able to provide some of that help. Thank you.
All right, my name is Dennis DeShow Jr. I am currently a school board member. This would be my 3rd term if you choose to elect me. I ran back almost 8 years ago because I have 2 daughters in the school district, so I am definitely school district supportive. I just want to make sure that we give our kids the best education we can, and that's why I ran.
Could you all just move the microphone a little closer so we don't make sure we get out? You got to push it too much. Just make sure we get nice and close. Thank you very much.
Yep.
My voice carries, so it's good for training, which I do a lot of. My name's Guy Hassinger. I live in the Dover Borough. So how I become a candidate for school board is it was a family decision. And let's just say it wasn't easy. It requires at least a minimum of 20, 25 hours, and I'm a family man. So I had a meeting with my kids, my wife. We sat down. I've done a good job with my boys. They don't need me as much today as they used to. And we all decided that now is the time for me to give back to the community, to instill in this community the values that I've been brought and raised with and that I put in my children. If you've ever met Parker or Preston Hassinger in school, in a bus line, in a cafeteria line, at the supermarket, you'll know who they are. They're well respected in the community, and that's because of their mother and myself.
My name's Alan Hogan, and I've been a Dover resident for about 26 years. My wife, she's an assistant principal right now. She has a PhD in educational leadership, so that's a positive when it comes to more about education. I'm a software developer, and that's my trade. I've been doing that for 20 years. I've served on 2 school nonprofit boards. One was an inner city ministry of York. I've been on the York Sports Nights board. I've also served as president of a technology group here in York, Pennsylvania. I've coached Dover youth soccer and currently a high school track and field coach. And just to let you know, my daughter Summer, their 4x800 team just broke the school record yesterday. So, for me.
I'm Craig Kindig. In July, my wife and I will celebrate 50 years of being Dover residents. I retired from a manufacturing facility where I learned a trade, went to night school at age 37, got my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. I followed that by going back and getting my master's degree in business. I eventually worked and managed maintenance and facilities and ended my career working in human resources and employee and labor relations. I was a former church treasurer at the former church we came from. I was a church treasurer for close to 30 years. So I have experience in business. I have experience in maintenance and facilities. I have experience in labor relations, and I'm running for school board. I ran 2 years ago. Many of you supported me as a write-in candidate, and that is a humbling experience to think you had faith in me to do that. I didn't make it though, but I thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Rob McKinney. I've been in Dover since 2002 when we got married. I have 2 kids, one in high school, one in middle school, a boy and a girl. I've been a youth baseball coach since my son was 5, so there's a good chance I've probably coached some of your parents or some of your sons or grandsons here. Also a Boy Scout leader, so I'm very involved with youth and teaching youth morals and skills that they need to learn in life. I decided to run for the school board because I do have a lot of experience in finance. I've been an accountant over almost 25 years in both the public library system, where I did a lot of the Pennsylvania Department of Education funding and federal funding, and now I'm in a big business doing for-profit work. So I think I can bring a lot to the table to help clean up the budget, help you guys save some tax dollars, and also want to clean up the school for my kids and make sure they're learning what they need to learn to succeed and nothing else.
Hello, I'm Karen Miller. I am a retired school teacher. I retired a couple of years ago from teaching, and I saw my friends and co-workers not so happy some days being teachers, and that concerns me. So I said to myself, what can I do? And that's when the opportunity to be a member of this ABC team and hopefully run and be a member of the Dover School Board, that opportunity arose. And I decided, with the grace of God, to take that challenge and run. So I love curriculum, I love schools, and I want to see what I can do to make Dover even better than what it is already. We do a lot of great things at Dover schools, and I just want to make it even better. Thank you.
Charles Rawhauser, lifelong resident of Dover Township, graduate of Dover School. 3 children went through the school. My grandson started in the school but went to Tech. We had problems in that school, and that's when I decided to run for school board 11 years ago. And I think we've improved a lot of things since then.
Appreciate that. Now, I failed to say one thing, but I'll say it as soon as I can here. We are being live streamed. And so, in fact, if someone else wants to go back and watch this, you can go to our website, lighthousebap.org, lighthousebap.org, and you will find a little button that says previous sermons, probably is what I'm going to say, but it will take you to our YouTube channel. And at this point, for the first week or 2 or 3, it'll be right there early where you can click on it and watch very easily. So I'm going to encourage you to do that, but I want you to know that you're being recorded. All right. Our first, this is actually question number 2, and we're going to start with Mr. Deschaux. And it says, what do you believe is the purpose of public education? This may be quick and easy. Not going to be a long dissertation, but what do you believe is the simple purpose of public education?
I think the simple purpose of public education is to give the building blocks of a good education by teaching you math, English, preparing you to go into college or a career. I think that's what the purpose of public education is, to give you building blocks to succeed in life.
Actually, I agree. It's reading, writing, arithmetic. I mean, that's the most important thing. We're all adults in here. We know what life skills are. Being able to sign your name is very important for my family. They have a lot of friends that come over. I have a boy in middle school and high school. We have some high school juniors and seniors who cannot sign their name. That is discouraging to me. We need to fix that. And it's simple. I'm not saying we have to bring cursive back, but your signature is your identity. That's who you are. That's all.
So I failed to mention the most important thing about me, and that's that I have 7 children, 3 girls and 4 boys who have continuously been in the Dover School District since 2003. So now I feel like a politician because I'm looking at my seconds and saying, wow, I need to take advantage of that time. So what's the purpose of public education? To provide students with the knowledge, skills, and abilities necessary to succeed in life, to think critically, solve problems, and make informed decisions. It's an investment of the future of our society. That's the purpose of public education.
For me, public education is meant to give the education necessary to prepare our children and grandchildren for their next step in life. If you go back to the founding of our nation, public education was an extension of what they were learning at home and in the church. Unfortunately, in today's world, one or both of those complementary educational experiences is missing. Thank you.
Well, I believe the purpose of public education is to teach students academics and skills to prepare them for higher education or for the workforce. Morals and values are not to be taught by schools. I think that's the responsibility of parents and churches, but not public educators. And that's really what the C in the Dover ABCs is all about, is curriculum, getting back to traditional academics, teaching them the skills that they really need to succeed in life, and being transparent to the parents, so letting the parents know exactly what's being taught to their students so they can be in control of their own kids.
Did you know that children spend 16,000 hours in school from kindergarten through 12th grade? I didn't know that. I think that's a pretty amazing number, and that shows that while they're in education, they should be learning to think critically, solve problems, be creative, and also develop a work ethic. That work ethic is going to carry them into their next position, whether it's in the military, whether it's as a career, or if they're going to go on to college. So education should prepare them for whatever they plan to do next. And we do great things at Dover, so let's continue that, and let's make sure that they are continuing to be prepared for whatever they choose to do next.
Public education is for teaching the basics, so as they go through school, they can learn more. They said about reading and writing and math is very important, especially when you get out of school, to learn a trade or to go to college. And more people are going for trades now than college because many places will train you if you come work for them.
Thank you very much. All right, next question.
Hang on.
Hold it.
Got one more.
I'm sorry.
It would eliminate some of my nervousness if I didn't have to answer. In 1818, Thomas Jefferson said the purpose of education for the public was to give every citizen the information he needs to understand his duties to his neighbors and country and to know his rights. By the mid-1800s, the purpose had evolved to preserve the American democracy and to inculcate democratic values. By the late 1800s and 1890s, that purpose had already morphed to prepare a man for a vocation. This was considered important in order for the nation to be able to compete against a rapidly industrializing and productive Germany. By the 1970s, the purpose had drifted toward keeping the country competitive, and by the 1990s, the purpose broadened into just eliminating poverty. But now I've begun to believe that the purpose of public education has drifted from its primary purpose of schooling to shape the minds and the values of the youth towards a state-funded public effort. Now, the question that's being asked is, what do I believe is the purpose for public education? So I'm going to answer in a declarative statement. The purpose of public education should be to train students to function at a moderate to high level in society and to be able to achieve their highest potential through knowledge, understanding, and virtue. Public schools should be purveyors of truth, science, math, literacy, and history.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, this time we'll begin with Mr. Kassinger. And what do you believe is the responsibility of a school board member?
Okay. So I'm not prepped for any of this. I was the late addition, so I didn't really know what the questions were going to be. So just so you guys know, this is all from the heart. So as a school board member, I owe it to the community to be completely transparent. So I'm not what you would call technologically savvy. So I've reached out to a few people to help me navigate our school board website. I'm on a computer a lot, and I struggle to find the easiest of things. In order to be transparent, we have to make things easier for parents and just overall people in Dover to find things and find information. Today's world, it should be so easy. One of the people in the audience has been a huge help to help me navigate. But I believe school board transparency is important, and that is a full budget review. You know, everybody wants to talk about money. Yeah, it's important, but it's also very important to take care of our children. I want my kids to love Dover so much that they want to bring their kids back here and let their kids be in this community. So for a school board member, we just need to do better. I think we're trying, and I think we're getting there. We just need a little push.
So what is the responsibility of a school board member? Setting policies and goals that guide the overall decisions and operations of the school district. That includes developing and adopting policies related to curriculum, instructional practices, student welfare, staffing, and budgeting. Accountability and oversight. The board is responsible for holding the district leadership accountable for achieving the goals and objectives of the school district.
The responsibility of the school board member I wrote is first and foremost, the member is responsible for spending taxpayer dollars as fiscally responsible as possible. Within those constraints, they are responsible for working with the administration, teachers, and parents, ensuring a quality education is being provided. They are responsible for working with the administration and setting clear guidelines for teachers and students regarding dress code, hours of classes, acceptable behavior, as well as appropriate subject matter for classes. And finally, they are responsible to make sure the facilities are being properly maintained.
All right, well, if you would look at the policy handbooks for a school board, it looks like they have a lot of responsibility, but I think it's pretty basic. The responsibility of school board members to review and approve responsible policy and actions for the school that work towards the goals of that school district. And those goals would be to educate kids to the highest standards, to be responsible stewards of our tax dollars, and to keep the kids safe in school. That's really all they need to focus on.
Well, I'm kind of looking at it a different angle because I used to have a school board that was in charge of me, and now I am proposing to be on that school board and now working for the other end. So I would be working for the constituents, which are you, and you are the parents, you are the taxpayers, you are the ones that hope to have citizens that are living in our district that are ready to take jobs that you may offer them. So I hope that we can keep our school board to be responsible for budgets, accountable, and I want the teachers to feel like they are respected in the district and that the students are actually learning and can achieve whatever goals they have. Thanks.
What was the question?
What's the responsibility of a school board member?
Responsibility, okay. Responsibility is number one is education. That's the number one thing for a school board member. And it's hard to do the education part with limited funds. We try to be as economical as we can to balance the budget. But as you know, everything goes up every year. and it's up basically to the superintendent and the CFO to come up with the budget.
So I believe that the school board members should be fully willing and able and prepared to serve the community as a functioning member of a body of elected citizens who have been charged to collectively provide oversight to the public school system in their district. However, the responsibilities of a school director are not subject to individual interpretation because they're defined in Pennsylvania public law. The primary duties of a school director are to provide oversight to the district as a whole and to the superintendent in particular, approve district budgets, approve curriculum, and to set district policy. The responsibilities of a school director are to organize and operate as directed by state law. This means that you operate as a majority and not as an individual with an agenda. The school director is to attend and participate in all scheduled meetings, represent the interests of the electorate in general, and while this charge includes representation of the taxpayers, it goes beyond that to include all constituents in the district. And the school director is to use discretion in the handling of matters related to personnel matters. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, a school director is to be a listener, a problem solver, a visionary, and a community leader that inspires and motivates higher learning and higher achievement.
All right. Well, I'm not sure how you can follow up with anything. I believe what Mr. Hogan said, what Mr. Conley said. There's really not much more to add to that. That's the job. We make rules and regulations and policies to guide the superintendent in their job to run the school. Everything these two gentlemen had said, I agree with 100%.
All right, very quickly then, we'll begin with Mr. Hogan this time. It may be similar to what we've had, but so we may be able to do this quickly. What do you believe is the character of the relationship between the school board and the school staff and faculty?
Okay. So the relationship between the school board and the school staff and faculty should be one of collaboration, mutual respect, and shared commitment to the best interests of students and the success of the school district. The school board and school staff and faculty should work together as a team, recognizing that they have different roles and responsibilities, but share a common goal of providing a high quality of education to the students. The school board sets policies and goals, while the school staff and faculty implement those policies and work directly with students on a day-to-day basis.
The relationship between the board, staff, and faculty, the staff and faculty report to the administration, and the administration reports to the board. I must say I've been attending school board meetings for the past 2 years, and I think this is an area where the new school board people that would get elected, that's going to be a challenge. Right now, I think the administration, the school board is reporting to the administration instead of the administration reporting to the school board. The character of the relationship that we need is mutual respect and working to a common goal.
Well, school board members and staff should have the same common goal to provide the best possible education for the kids of their community in a safe environment too. They should absolutely have an open channel of communication, a good working relationship. The staff and teachers should never feel intimidated to bring something up to administration or to the school board. They should have open discussions, open channels of communication, and the teachers should feel appreciated by the school board, and likewise. We're never going to get anything done if there is a wall between the school board and the administration and the teachers. We've got to break that down and work together for the kids.
You keep hearing something very similar between all of us, and that is that the school board and the staff and the faculty should work together. We all have a common goal. We all want to have our students in the district learn, And so we've got to work together. I know personally that teachers are working very hard out there, and every day they're bringing work home and they are working on weekends, so I know that they are working hard, and I want them to feel appreciated. I want them to know that the school board supports them and has their back, and I want there to be that mutual relationship. Thanks.
I agree with pretty much what was just said. It's important that all three areas of school board, the super administrators and the faculty are able to communicate with each other, and if problems come up, be brought to the board.
All right, in this question, we're addressing the entire school board and not the individual members. The school board itself should have a relationship with the administration, and it should be characterized with these principles. Number one is respect. Respect for the other members of the board, respect for the public, respect for the needs of the students, the teachers, and the administration, and respect for the incredible responsibility that is held by the board, but mostly carried by the teachers and the administration who have the hardest job. Partnership. Partnership with other members of the board, partnership with the superintendent and assistant superintendent. And in an appropriate way, partners with the faculty. My wife was a teacher for 11 years, and I know firsthand the indispensable value of quality teachers and their lasting impact on youth. And I characterize this bullet as an appropriate partnership for a reason. Board members must respect the fact that the faculty and the employees and staff work for the administration, not for the board. Individual school members carry no authority or no special status or powers authorized by the state. By law, school directors serve as only one member of a 9-member board that can only act as a majority. Each school director serves with no compensation. However, the key word in your question is relationship. Sound and strong relationships are essential to effectiveness, and I will work hard to build healthy relationships with everyone. Did you hear me?
Yes, I need to get a new seat. I need to be on that side of you because following you is just not good. You take everything I'm going to say, but I'll do my best. But with the school board staff relationships, when I joined the school board 8 years ago, I would say at best it was rocky. Our relationship with the teachers, the principals, administration was not very good. Through my tenure, I've had 3 superintendents, and each time a superintendent comes in, the relationship gets rocky. I think we have a very good administration that is bringing a good foundation to the teacher, faculty's relationship with the school board, and I think we're moving in the right direction. We're getting great feedback. The teachers are coming. They're bringing their classes to the school board. We get to see what the students are doing, and I love it. It's like the first hour of our meetings on Tuesdays, we get to see everything that's going really well in the school, and I hope that the future board keeps that going. But I think we're going in the right direction. We need to work together as a team. And I think we're really moving in the right direction right now.
I think if you're listening to all this, we're actually all pretty lucky. We have a pretty nice group of people up here. I'm very excited about that. But I do emphasize the team effort. And you've all heard, it takes a village, and that's a real thing. But I feel like the school board and the teachers should even be a bigger team. And we should reach out and include parents and grandparents. And please don't forget the aunts and uncles. These people are also with our children from time to time. They also need to be included on what is going on in the district. They will have your children. Our teachers have our children, as Karen alluded to, a lot. As a school board, we need to support them. We need to build them up, and we need to show everyone how much we are in touch with what they are dealing with, good or bad. You can't have it both ways. You got to take it, the good and the ugly. And you got to work through it. You sit down and you have discussions. There's a couple teachers here that have already done that. I like it. We're good. We're good.
I'm going to take a couple questions here and kind of combine them, and we'll be beginning with Mr. Kindig here. What do you believe is the character of the relationship between the school board and the parents? And I'm going to maybe, you all kind of talked about that a little bit as we're going along, so let me specify a little bit here. Who carries the ultimate responsibility for the welfare and the education of the child? So in other words, how do you balance the values and the priorities of the parents, the faculty, and the staff, and the school board? Where does it all line up? Question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm combining these two questions.
Or three.
Okay, you all right?
Yep, I'm good. Starts out with the school board reports to the parents and taxpayers. I think one of the important keys that if you look at the news at all, and many schools are struggling with this, I don't think Dover is an exception to this. Parents need to be in the loop on curriculum and the material being offered and all aspects of their child's education. As far as the welfare and education of the child, it's shared by school and the parents, but the final decision-making is the responsibility of parents. So the schools should not be withholding any information from parents in regards to their children. Children are a gift from God, and they are entrusted to the parents for the proper upbringing. Parents, in turn, send their children to school expecting a quality education in a proper environment to promote learning. As I stated before, an education in school should be an extension of what they are learning at home and in church, and vice versa.
Well, this is one of the main reasons I decided to run for school board, because I had been attending a lot of school board meetings and speaking up on certain issues, and I always felt ignored and disregarded by the school board as a parent, as a taxpayer. So the school board should always be open and transparent to the parents. Ideally, a school board would have some members who are parents or current students to stay engaged in the day-to-day state of the school. Like, I know what's going on because my kids tell me. Parents should never feel intimidated or disregarded when speaking at school board meetings, because we should all be working together. School board should be accountable to the parents, accountable to the public. As far as who carries the ultimate responsibility for welfare and education of a child, that's parents. Parents have full responsibility for their own children. The school system should never consider itself a substitute for parenting. While some parents are more engaged in children's lives than others, parental rights always trump school agendas. And parental rights are non-negotiable. Parents should be informed of any issues with their child. If a parent wants to opt their kid out of a lesson or a program that goes against their beliefs, or mental health evaluations, or a standardized test that doesn't have an effect on the kid's grade or education, it should be respected and honored by the school and the administration.
I agree a lot with what Rob said. Parents are the ultimate ones that are in charge of their child's education from the start. They're the ones that are teaching them language, they're teaching them reading from the beginning. Hopefully they are reading with them as soon as they are born and from then on. I feel like that parents are the key to a great education for their child, and I would encourage parents to spend time with their child asking them, what did you do at school today? And if they want to say nothing, don't take it from them. Make sure you get an answer from them, because that's your ticket to find out what is happening in the classroom. So have that conversation with them. Try to have it every day. I would like to say at dinner, but whenever you can. And if there's an issue possibly between the values of the school and the parents, I think there's a perfect time to sit down and talk together. compromise, hear both sides, and hopefully you can come up with the best solution for the child as well as the parents.
We made some changes in the way we do our school board meetings. We have put out for more transparency. Everything is publicized 10 days before 10 days a month, 2 times 5 different weeks. And one of the biggest problems in the school district is we don't have the home like we used to, because the last figures I got, like 50 or 51% of the kids are single parents. And that creates a problem, because sometimes the parents are fighting over the kids because, Johnny, you can do this, and no, you can't do this. And that's one of the big problems today, is we don't have the parents like we had 50 years ago.
The character of the relationship between the school board and the parents is, first, the individual school directors are not the conduits to the teachers or the administration. People often tend to choose this route because they think it's going to amplify their message and empower their cause, but that's not true. Parents should avail themselves of the opportunity to establish a relationship with the child's teacher. If they have a problem and it's not resolved at the teacher level, elevate it as necessary up through the administration as appropriate. And third, any parent seeking redress to systemic issues has the right as a citizen to come before the Board of Education and present their case. Now, who carries the ultimate responsibility for children and the welfare of a child? Parents. It's already been said. The Word of God is clear about that. Children are the ordained steward, or parents are the ordained stewards of the God-given child that they have in their entrust. Children are not wards of the state, and contrary to what popular philosophy, I don't believe they're actually raised by the village either. But the village has an effect on them. The school system definitely has an effect on them. But they belong to the parents, both legally, and the sanctity of that relationship should be honored. Parents are accountable for rearing their own child in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Parents must be involved in the education of their children, and the derogation of this responsibility can have long-lasting negative effects on society as a whole.
Okay, who carries the ultimate responsibility for the welfare and education of a child? Personally, I think it's both. It's your child, but you're entrusting the school to educate your child. That you're entrusting the school to keep them safe while they're there. You're entrusting them to, on some cases, the school's feeding your student. I think we need to work together at it. It's parents and the school. Yes, the parents have the final say in it, but you are entrusted. If you send your kids to school, you are trusting the school to do what's right with your student. As for the school board members, sorry, I'm trying to read the question. Of course, it goes away. Priorities of the parents have conflict with the values of the staff and faculty. As a school board member, I am there. I have an open door policy. If you have an issue with the school, you can come to me. All I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it to our superintendent. I may give you my personal opinion about it, but in the ultimate, when it comes down to it, I'm there to help, but the administrators are there to actually fix what's going on at the school. I will give them guidance, and I will do everything in my power to help everybody I can.
So I kind of forgot the question, and I don't have any notes.
The question's right there for you.
So obviously, the ultimate responsibility of raising your child is not fall on the school. It is the parents. It's actually, don't forget the grandparents and the aunts and uncles. They all help. So when I say the village, I meant the whole family, even cousins help. But the relationship for a school board member, I believe is the question. And the parents, you just need to be approachable. You know, you shouldn't be afraid to go talk to a school board member of what they may or may not think about you. You have to be approachable. Not everyone in here agrees on everything, but we're the adults. We have to put the kids first. It's in their best interest that we work together. We put our differences aside. Whether you like red or I like blue or purple, or that doesn't matter. It's about the children. This is the school board. If we put our kids first and really put our children first, we will make this community great. I guarantee it. That's it.
So I just want to clarify, we're talking here about the ultimate responsibility of the welfare and education of a child, primarily, because the education system does share a responsibility of teaching the kid, right? But ultimately, the responsibility remains with the parents and the legal guardians. Yeah. Parents are the primary caregivers and advocates for their children and have the legal and moral responsibility to provide for their physical, emotional, and educational well-being. So I just want to stress, it is the parents' primary responsibility. And most everybody here said the same thing, so that's it for me.
All right, we're going to shift gears here. When I moved to Dover, Pennsylvania from Maryland almost 20 years ago, I was floored by the taxes. We bought a home here that was essentially the same as we had in Maryland. The taxes in Maryland my home was $3,500. The taxes here were $9,000. With the vast majority of those taxes going to the school system. So in all practicality, we are renting our homes from the school system. My question is this. Listen to the whole works here, and you can kind of do the best you can with this. And of course, we're starting with Mr. McKinney. Do you believe the current school budget is within reason? This is a little different word than what you had, okay? So you kind of have to think on your own here now, okay? Do you believe the current school budget is within reason? And if so, would there be any adjustments that you would make? Or do you believe the budget is unreasonable, whether you see it as not enough to run the school district, or whether you see it as too much? And what adjustments would you make in order to make the budget reasonable? That makes sense?
I think so, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, this is going to be my main focus when I am on the school board, the budget. If any of you watch the school board meetings, the planning meetings, they just had a budget proposal. You don't get a lot of information from them. As I'm an accountant, very experienced, and I'm not happy with the amount of detail I'm seeing. There are a lot of things lumped into very few categories without a lot of detail. So honestly, none of us can really answer how we would change the budget until we actually get in and can get some good reports and some good info. But from their budget proposal that they just presented, they did budget a deficit to avoid a tax increase. The way they're avoiding a tax increase is drawing funds out of our reserve fund. They're draining our savings account, basically, to avoid raising taxes this year. I'm not for that. I'm never for budgeting more spending than revenue, and that's what's going on right now. They have a spending problem. That needs to be reined in. Whether we look for better ways to save money or we look for new streams of revenue, something's got to change. We're spending more than we're taking in, or at least we're budgeting that way. We're never going to get out of this trend of raising taxes almost every year or depleting our reserves, and then what happens if we have an emergency. We got to be responsible. We got to clean up the budget. You get what I'm saying?
Budgets, probably not one of my top topics that I know a lot about, and that's why I'm thankful that I'm sitting next to Rob, who is an accountant. I have been studying the budget from last year and the one that's being proposed for the future, and I agree with Rob. It's very hard to understand it. It's very hard to know where the money is going. And I feel like that's going to be my first task, is I've got to understand and learn about the budget. Where is this money coming from and where is it going? I know that a new reading curriculum and writing curriculum has been proposed. Well, that just is right up my alley. So I'm very interested in, is this the best way to spend our money? Because it's a lot of money to have a new reading and writing series. So I want to make sure that it is the best and that it is implemented in the right way, because you do not certainly want to waste that amount of money that you're spending on the curriculum. So I feel like I have to be honest with you and say, I am learning about the budget, and I am going to have to study, and I'm going to have to ask Rob and the other members of my team to help me understand the budget. And I agree that when you go on that website, it should be easier for all of us to look at it and understand what the district is doing. And first of all is about the budget. I'm sure that that's a topic of interest for all of you and all of us. So I'm being really honest and saying, I've got a lot of work to do, and I am willing to do that to make the best decisions about the budget.
Yes, the budget's a very hot topic. A couple years ago, we lost $4 million with the judge taking Washington Township away from Dover School District. We are trying to compensate up for that. We did cut a lot of things last year, and we cut this year again, but it's hard to make up that kind of a loss. Another thing that's still going on is, when it was approved to build the new high school, it was a 7-year $250,000 tax pass to pay for it. So I think we aren't doing too bad with the way things are with the economy, the way everything's going up. And we'll see what happens. We're in a positive direction this year, and hope next year it'll be even more positive. But it's hard to make ends meet when everything goes up. The other night, one said which cost it was went up 10%. So you got to make it up, and you know at home how things are going up. Grocery store.
Taxes are a community killer. When taxes are too high, people don't want to live there. They won't move here, and if they can, they're going to escape and they're going to go somewhere else. When people retire, why do they move to southern states? Because the taxes are lower. So when you look at this community, you ask yourself, what is driving the school taxes here? It's the school budget. Now, part of your question was, is it a fair budget? I'll tell you, after 2 years of attending every meeting, I have no idea. And if any school board member that's serving right now says they know, I'm going to tell you they don't know. There's not enough information presented during the school board meetings, and if you're a citizen, you're paying attention, you know that's true also. I've also heard it said by school board members that we should just trust the administration, tell us what you need, and we'll approve it. When that occurs, there's no accountability. A and ABC stands for accountability. That's what we're trying to restore. If we're going to trust the administration, we need to be able to validate it. Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. That's how we won the Cold War, and that's how we'll fix the budget in Dover. We're going to have to take a look at it. $47 million are being paid for salary and benefits. $2.7 million are being paid for supplies. We have a $73 million budget for 6 schools. You answer the question. Is that a lot of money or is it not?
Okay. So I know people in Dover get sick and tired of hearing about Washington Township. Yes, we lost Washington Township. We did lose $4 million in revenue every year because of it. The school board has been working to fill that deficit. We've cut $3 million in it. We still have $1.5 million to make up. The budget is a running budget. The administrators cut from it as the year goes on. If something doesn't need to be replaced in our D10 items, we don't do it. What else? I am definitely for no program cutting. I'm not about that. I have children in the district, and I am not for cutting programs. Our kids need and are used to having the programs that we have, and we offer great programs, CTE, things like that. I would never think about getting rid of. And unfortunately, most school districts have not come across the obstacles Dover's had to come across, maybe two. You don't just lose a township and expect to make up that revenue. I'm not saying we need to raise taxes. Am I saying the budget is perfect? Absolutely not. And we can work at it, and that's what we've been doing. We've cut $3 million in the deficit. I'm not saying it's perfect, but we're getting it there.
Yeah, when I heard the budget number, I actually had it 71.5, which is close enough. Yeah, that's a large number. So I started to look at a couple things. So it is muddy waters, but I will tell you this from watching a couple of the board meetings. I don't know if I'd ever have a budget discussion without the CFO present. All you're doing is frustrating your viewers because nobody has any answers except for the CFO. When I have a budget meeting at my house, I have to be there because I'm the CFO. We have a budget meeting at work. Our CFO is present and explains a lot of things to us because that's what they get paid to do. We really, I think our best bet would actually be to take some time and go through a budget line by line. I know that sounds painstaking, but that is the only way that we can explain to you guys where every dollar goes. And I mean every dollar. I know it sounds like a lot, but at the end of the day, I think it would make everyone feel better if they could see it. See where your money's at. And then you can judge whether or not we're doing a good job. Now, granted, I'm not there yet. That's why I'm here.
So yeah, I don't like the fact that our taxes keep increasing. I am for disciplined spending. What that looks like, how do we make that happen? I'm not sure. I'm not currently on the board. I would have to look at the numbers and talk with the board to see if we can come up with a creative way to keep our expenses, low. I'm not looking to raise taxes if we can avoid doing that. Definitely, having had a small business as an entrepreneur, we had a limited budget to work with. So I know the challenges of that. This is obviously a lot larger scale of money than a small business, but I think you can apply the same principles to profits and expenses. One thing I just want to make clear, if there is a necessity to cut, if that is one thing that has to happen, I'm a strong advocate that we don't cut extracurricular activities like music, band, our sports programs. I've seen the benefit of those programs and what they've had on my kids and their academic and their future success, and that's one area that I will be an advocate for that we will not touch.
When it comes to the budget, we as candidates have a tough time to answer the question, mainly because the budget presentation that's currently being given to the board is anything but detailed. I can tell you the revenue for Dover School District is above state average. So that means Dover School District is bringing in more money than the average school in the state. I can tell you reducing the budget is a difficult decision. It's a sensitive decision. It's a no-win situation. So where we go with that, I don't know, but we do need to do something and be fiscally responsible. Mr. Amig presented to the board at the last board meeting that 10 or 15 years ago, the board used to sit with the principals of every school and review, why do you need the money that you say you need? What can we do to reduce the amount of money you need? That is no longer happening in Dover School District. That is part of the reason I made the comment that I believe we have some things backwards between the administration and the school board. You folks are the ones that are going to make the decision who sits on the school board. The school board ought to be the ones making the decisions on this stuff, and they need the information to do it. Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Miller, we'll begin with you this time. And this is an interesting discussion currently. What is your point of view concerning, and you probably don't have this, okay, so you're going to be thinking about it. What is your point of view concerning the banning of certain literature from school libraries and class curriculum? Now listen, I'm going to finish here. Do you believe our students should have access to all available literature? Or do you believe that some literature should be deemed inappropriate for minors in public education? And how would you determine what literature is appropriate for minors in the public educational system? Obviously, things like Playboy and Hustler and 50 Shades of Grey should not be in there. But where do we draw the line? How do we draw the line? Or do we draw a line?
Okay. Again, literature, I love it. It's amazing to see how much literature there is out there, and also to see how literature has changed. Scholastic Books would bring their book fair to the school that I would teach at, for years, and I could see how the topics have changed, how the covers have changed, much more ideas that we might have difficulty sharing with our children, and it is all there in literature. So personally, I feel like we need to be very careful with the literature that we choose, especially the literature that we're going to use to teach a lesson in the classroom. I need, as the teacher, whoever is the teacher needs to make sure that that literature is age appropriate and make sure that they read the entire book. Because you look at the cover and you think, oh, this looks great. It's a picture book, it's perfect. And that is not always true. You cannot guarantee that anymore. So personally, I feel like we need to be very careful with the literature that we choose. I feel like that there is appropriate literature and that there is literature that should not be in the classroom or in the school. If you as a parent choose for your child to read that, go to Amazon, go to probably the public library. But within the school system, I would say that that access should not be there, because we are a public school and there are children from many different backgrounds, and we do not want to offend anyone. And I think we need to be very careful with where literature is going these days, and as teachers we need to be very aware of the topics. And I'm not going to give any titles, but I definitely know titles that I would not consider appropriate.
On literature, it's something I'm not into. Basically, I rely on the administration to determine which is good and which is bad, because as individuals, each one of us has a different opinion of what's good and what's bad.
We're fond of euphemisms in today's society. We don't call things what they are. Inappropriateness is a euphemism for some of the things in our books that are absolutely way out of bounds. So I'm just going to say up front, I'm against pornography in the school curriculum or libraries. I don't care how you present it, sex education, or whatever it is. If it's pornographic, it has no business being in a school. Whether it's in graphic, textual, physical form, verbal forms, period. So I recently heard someone say we should just trust the librarians. They're trained to place books in the library. I disagree. Blind trust is how we got in this predicament to begin with. The community, especially the parents, should have a say in what our children have access to, especially in the schools. If an administration is afraid to publish a list of books in the library, then that sends up the first red flag for me. And it's fair to say, what are they hiding? And what is their agenda? Transparency will be healthy for public opinion and will curb the likelihood that anyone would place inappropriate materials in the libraries to begin with.
Okay, I agree with pretty much what Mr. Conley said about the certain books that should not be allowed into our libraries. The part I don't agree with is the district does have librarians. They're actually trained on what books should be in the schools. Do I believe that they should be the only ones selecting it? No. I think the teachers should have some input on what books that they would like to use. I think that once the librarians, teachers have made a list, I think it would be nice to see that list supplied to the board so that the board could review it. But I definitely don't want to see us get in trouble like CV did with all of these book bannings, so I'm not in favor of just banning everything. So I think we can do this as a community, but I am definitely not for mass book banning.
I haven't really actually thought about this subject too much. And maybe I'm naive, or my children have never actually brought anything home that I thought was inappropriate, probably because I also believe in discipline. So good for them. I am against pornographic images, and who wouldn't be? I mean, if you're not and you have children, you probably should look in the mirror and say, what's wrong with that picture? Yeah, I would actually have to lean on somebody else to, I mean, I know what's appropriate for my children. We have a 20-minute discussion almost every night about everything. Anything that they want to talk about. I don't want them to have hearsay. So maybe my children know more than what they should for an 8th and 9th grader. But I feel like that's my duty as a parent to educate them on things that I don't think should be in school, which may be books that they should or shouldn't be looking at. Yeah, I would have to defer to somebody else to tell me what they feel is inappropriate for their children. And I mean, it's their children. They know. I don't know what's appropriate for your children or grandchildren. I know what I don't feel is appropriate for mine, and that's where I would put the judgment. But maybe you're like, that's not I'd need some help on that one.
So the topic is one of, well, there's a lot to be said, but I'll stick with explicit materials in the library. So I support specifying in our school's policy that materials containing visual depictions of people engaging in sex acts or explicit written descriptions of people engaging in sex acts is not age appropriate for the school's curriculum and libraries. So that's where I stand with that.
I agree with much have been said. I like Alan's description. If you want to see where Dover is right now, pull up the last school board meeting. There was a heated debate on this very subject. Some school board members say it's up to the librarian. Other school board members who you voted for the last election say, no, it's not up to the librarian. The school board should know what is in the library, what is being taught, and should be able to review that and make a decision whether it's appropriate or not. And that's where I'm at. The school board, you people are voting for the school board. We need to be involved and know what's going on in our schools. And this idea that the educators know better than the school board members, yes, we have to rely on them to advise us, But daggone it, when it comes to the last decision, the school board needs to be the ones making the decision.
All right. Well, I've probably got the most unique take on this because I did work for the county library system for 20 years. I was in finance, but I was inside the building, and I was very observant on how books are chosen in a public library. A school library is not a public library. There's a big difference. The librarians who we are trusting often to choose these books, a lot of times they refer to the ALA, the American Library Association, and I got to tell you, that's a very political group. They're a lobbying group, and they do push things on Capitol Hill, and they have an agenda, and they are very heavily funding of politicians. But as for banning books, that's a term that gets thrown around a lot. Nobody is for banning books. I'm for taking pornographic or perverted materials out of the view of children. You know, if a parent wants to present that to their kids, do it on your own time. Take them to the public library. I guarantee you'll be able to find it there. But parents and taxpayers shouldn't be forced to be funding this. The school should not be the source of these kind of materials, these kind of ideas. These are our children's minds. We don't need to be damaging them at such a young age. We need to be teaching them academics, strictly academics. My own kids have shown me things in the curriculum and on online courses that I have proof of that.
All right. Mr. Rollhauser, you're going to be up first this time. Now, we're going to do several questions. We're going to call this the lightning round, okay? There's several there are hot button issues, and we could probably debate on these issues. But basically, you probably at this point know where you stand, yes or no, yay or nay, on these issues. And so we're going to do our best here to kind of go right down the line here, Mr. Rollhauser, and we're going to just kind of make it a short and quick. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. But 30 seconds. So it's enough to say yes or no and a quick explanation. We're coming down to the end of our time, and I want to be able to do this right. First question here is this. In light of recent events, including the pandemic, should the public school be able to mandate personal measures for the faculty and student bodies, such as vaccines and masks?
Well, that's a trick, yes or no question, because our last one was done by the governor and we didn't have no choice. We had to follow his procedure. Well, I guess that's it. What? Well, it's like I said, it's the governor we had to follow the governor's orders, and when he took it off, then we left them choose what they wanted to do, whether wear a mask or not wear a mask during the pandemic.
The superintendent said it not that long ago, just a couple months ago. This is a public school. It's run by the government. And we are running for positions to represent the people in the government, but the school system has to follow a law. So if the government mandates vaccines, whether you like them or not, unless they have the ability to opt out, you have to comply with them. And I'm against the masks, but the governor did say that in Pennsylvania.
The same. Yep.
It wasn't really our decision.
No.
I have a comment.
Oh.
I don't think that our kids, during the pandemic, there was a time where we were obviously safe and forcing them to wear a mask all hours of the day. I don't think that is appropriate. Craig has something.
I spoke on this subject at this school board meeting. This is what actually got me started in school board. I did not agree with the mask mandate. To me, it's the start of socialism. There were school districts in the county that were not requiring them, so it was questionable whether it was mandated, and that was my position on it.
Yep, I absolutely have to speak up on this one. The first school board meeting that I ever spoke at was about mask mandates. What the school had not considered or realized is some kids have medical issues where they couldn't wear a mask. It was causing migraines, it was causing all kinds of issues, plus the emotional strain on them, the psychological strain. That wasn't being considered. And they had the option to, once the mask mandate was lifted, our school board still wanted to push a mask mandate against the will of the parents who were surveyed. They ignored the parents, they ignored the public on this, and that should not happen.
I think we need to learn from our mistakes. If this ever happens again, we should not go down the same path that we did with the first pandemic.
All right. If anybody need more water, there's some more behind you there. I can get you some more. Just want to make sure you're ready. All right. This time we're going to start with David again. This is a term that you hear not quite, maybe quite as much as you used to, but I think it's become part of the fabric of our society. And I'm going to say it a certain way, but there are principles in the, well, let me explain it. Do you believe that critical race theory should be part of the curriculum in the school? If so, where and how? Now, I'm not saying you're going to teach the book and put the curriculum out there, but I'm talking about the principles and the basically thoughts of those things, such as do you believe the 1619 project should be used as a positive resource in the curriculum? What do you think about your opinion of inferring white supremacy and so forth in the public school system?
I stated earlier that I think the public school system should be focused on the truth. CRT 1619 project, it's manufactured history, and it's designed to be persuasive and to convince people to divide. Look all around you. Look what's happening in America. Our country's more divided now. While we've elected presidents, Obama and Biden, who said they were going to focus on unity, they did more to divide this country than you've ever seen in your life. More than I've ever seen in my entire life. So preaching that people are disadvantaged because they're white's wrong.
This is a very tough question. Personally, I don't believe in the CRT class. I think right now the Dover High School has a good class that gets into American history. It takes World War II events, it takes Civil War events, and it teaches it in the high school. It is American history. You can't go, you can't deny it. It happened. There are certain things that did happen in this world, and I don't have a problem with it being that class being taught at the high school. I think it's actually a good class.
Critical race theory. So yeah, I do not think that we really need to pursue that at an extreme level. I think we should just teach history, whatever that history lesson was for that time period. It's not really something that I actually think about a lot.
Yeah, to say it simply, I don't think that CRT has a place in the classroom. There's an agenda to it rather than really something that's historical in nature.
I've spoken on this subject at the school board meetings, had some pushback. There's a thing called social emotional learning. We marched first graders into the school board room and told about how we're teaching first graders about social and emotional learning. The study I saw from a nonprofit says that that's part of CRT or could lead to CRT. I agree with Mr. Conley. We need to teach accurate history.
Yep, I agree with that totally. All politics, all social experiments that are out there like CRT, that needs to be kept out of our history classes, out of our classrooms. There's some very talented teachers who, if you give them a good curriculum, they're gonna teach the kids a lot. But if we allow them free reign, there could be a teacher who would push our political beliefs in a classroom. We got to get away from that. And I'm out of time. There we go.
Definitely against CRT, definitely against the 1619 project. Several years ago, when I was preparing a lesson using the Scholastic News magazine, they had a timeline in there that showed that 1619 was when our country began instead of 1776. That's not true, and I immediately decided I'm not using Scholastic News ever again. And I felt it was my duty to go to other teachers and explain to them, look what this shows, this is not right. And I think that that is part of the reason why I'm sitting here running for school board is it is those little things that are sneaking into our curriculum that we need to be aware of.
I'm against the teaching of that other stuff. It's stick with the American history like it was when I went to school.
I don't think that would be right, but thank you. I wanted to be fair. Now, I've got another sensitive topic here, and I've got quite a few little parts to it. So I'd like to kind of go down the line, kind of like 15 seconds or something, but I don't really want a big, long dissertation. We're dealing with gender identity. It's a difficult topic. It has become, in the last few years, almost front and center of our society. So there's several different things, and so I really don't want to spend a lot of time and get all the background here. I think we can go through this pretty quickly. My first question here would begin with Mr. Dashaw here. Should school representatives, both paid and volunteer, as well as the student body, be required to address people according to their preferred gender identity or according to the gender they were assigned at birth?
My opinion in this matter doesn't matter. It's really the child and the parent. The government has no business in this. The state has no business in this matter. The school doesn't. This is parent-child. They're the only opinions that matter. Yours doesn't, theirs doesn't, mine doesn't, just theirs. That's it.
So the question was, should the teacher...
Should anybody who's representing the school and the students be required to go to refer to a student by their preferred
Okay, so
pronouns and so forth?
I'm going to keep this short and sweet. No. Sorry.
So I oppose the forcing a teacher to use a pronoun that could be against their religious belief themselves. So you're forcing a teacher to do something that they may be opposed to. So referring to a biological male as a she is not right. Secondly, if you're using a term they to an individual, we're teaching academics. How can that be grammatically correct to use they when it's he, she in English? So it doesn't even make sense, so no.
Well, personally, as a believer in the God of creation, he doesn't make mistakes. We as humans who believe we can create something better are the ones who are mistaken. So no, I'm opposed to forcing anybody to do something against their will.
Well said. Under no circumstances should any staff member even be talking to underage minors or students who are under 18 about sexual issues, preferences, opinions, options. It's perverse. It doesn't have any academic value. It doesn't belong in our schools. That's between the parents and the children to have that discussion. And really, under no circumstances should a parent be kept in the dark about what their child is identifying as or choosing in school. That needs to be reported to the parents so they can get help if they need help. It's not a school issue. It's a parental issue.
I've had the pleasure of trying to teach pronouns to fourth graders and fifth graders. It's very difficult, and now we're adding something that totally doesn't make sense. I would have to say that I would have to speak to the parents to see how do they feel about the pronoun choice of their child. It's a very difficult issue, and I think you have to take it child by child.
I'm opposed to having their name changed, and we're waiting on the government to give us information on Title 19 on how we're to handle some of these problems in the school.
I believe that the student's request or insistence to be referred by a different gender or species must be substantiated by government documentation that was established at birth. I also believe that the use of they, them pronouns is not only vague and confusing, it's grammatically incorrect. But if any of this is going on, I believe the parents should be informed by the school administration.
We began with Mr. Dusher, didn't we? Yes, we did. Okay. All right. This one should be able to go fairly quick. Just a yes or no would be fine. All right. Should students be allowed to use the restroom or locker room of their gender with which they identify, or should the students be required to use the restroom that matches their physical anatomy? Or do you have another remedy?
Well, that's actually not yes or no. You tried to trick me. No, you should be in the bathroom that you were born with. Or you weren't born with a bathroom, but you understand.
The one you're born for.
Okay.
So I support separating restrooms or locker rooms or other privacy areas based on biological sex.
I go by biological gender. That's where they should be using restrooms.
Yep, I've got a daughter. Girls need to be protected at all costs. We don't need to be putting boys in, and we saw what happened in Loudoun County, Virginia, because of school board decisions on that issue. We're not having that in Dover.
I agree totally.
Well, I agree with the rest of them that boys are bathroom and a girl's bathroom, and that's the way it should operate.
If there's one issue that parents are upset about, and I found this out by knocking a lot of doors, it's this locker room restroom issue. I think based on your gender and sex established at birth, those are the restrooms that you should be using.
I'm the one who goes against, I guess, everybody else here. Yeah, if that person with their parents said that they identify as male or female, and it seems like we only have a problem with a male being in a female, not a female in a men's bathroom, they should be able to go there. There are remedies. We do have a bathroom in the nurse's office. We do have a bathroom in the lobby area of the high school. So yeah, once again, this is a parent-student issue, and if they work it out, then so be it. I follow it.
All right. So very, very similar to that question. And we'll begin with Mr. Hogan. Should persons who are transgender females be allowed to compete in sports with biological females?
So yeah, I'm into sports, but I'm not into having biological males compete against girls. So I support reserving girls' sports exclusively for biological females. I support protecting, it's on my card, the integrity and safety of girls' sports. I support keeping boys out of the girls' locker rooms in sports. And it's not just, I'm sorry, it's not just the boy and the girl, it goes the other way too. I believe that's kind of inferred.
We have two different sports teams, boys and girls, and I think it goes by their biological gender. That's the sport they should be playing in.
Yep, I said it before, girls need to be protected at all costs. Girls' sports need to remain fair for them. I don't understand how any woman could support allowing a biological boy to compete against a girl, to steal their spot, to potentially injure them, to keep them from their deserved accomplishments. I'll protect the integrity of girls' sports and keep our girls safe from potential harm. Women fought really hard, so hard for equal rights, and now in this country we've got a political party that's just trying to erase all that progress. I'm not sure how any woman can be for that. Women need to stand up to this disrespect towards women and protect their girls, protect themselves.
As a woman, I agree totally. We need to keep that Title IX in shape and not change it. I'm thinking that you might have seen the volleyball player that spiked the ball on another female girl playing, and she was injured. We cannot have that. We are here for the safety of our students, so we have to be very careful with that. So I am definitely not for the females being on the males team, or vice versa.
We have sports for boys and girls. That's the way it should stay.
We can't allow girls' sports programs to be destroyed by allowing biological boys to compete with them. It's not fair. It'll dash the dreams of all the girls that want to compete in sports, because they'll have no chance. We know the difference. We've confounded our own minds, and we're twisted. It's a shame.
I agree we should protect all sports. We have a wrestling team for the high school, and I am protecting the boys' wrestling team because we have girls on it. And guess what? Those girls beat guys. So should we be protecting the guys from these girls who are on the wrestling team? So yes, yes, let's protect those sports teams.
We probably already know my answer. Boys play boys, girls play girls. Now, in a rare instance, I mean, let's be realistic. If a girl wants to play on a sport that they don't offer because they don't have enough girls, and you get the parents' consent, let her play with the boys. But we can't go the opposite direction. It's not physically fair.
All right. Next question is given to Kindy. Is it ever, and this should be, I think it is going to be short here, but is it ever appropriate for school representatives to ever keep a student's gender identification private from the student's parents?
No, it is not. That issue came up about a year ago in the Dover School District. Parent came out and spoke about it, and the response from the board and administration was silence. I got up after the parent spoke and said, "What is our position in the Dover School District?" I got the same response, silence. So I can't tell you what the position is.
Yep, I pretty much answered this one already, I think. No, the parents need to be informed of everything that happens to their student. If a student is in need of some help, they need to be informed. If a student's confused about something or not doing well in a class, they need to be informed. We shouldn't be keeping anything from parents. And as I said before, these sexual issues are not appropriate for an adult to be discussing with a minor. I'm a Boy Scout leader, and we have very strict rules in place about having two-deep leadership, where there's never a student and a leader alone together. So that needs to be in place for teachers as well?
Teachers do not have time to be focusing on gender identity. There's too much to do. It should not be kept from the parents at all, ever.
I have no comment at this time.
The school system should not be keeping secrets away from the parents. And this is something any involved parent would want to know. They should not be keeping secrets.
The parents and the child's relationship, the parents should already know. If your kid's afraid to tell you, there's something wrong with that. You need to work. The parents should have that relationship with their child. The child shouldn't be afraid to tell their parent. It's that simple. Nobody should have to keep it from them. If the child shouldn't be afraid to tell their parent. They should already know. The relationship should be that strong that you should know.
I disagree with that. My kids didn't take the trash out Sunday and didn't want to tell me. So this would be a whole nother subject. I do not think we should tell the parents almost immediately. Like, it shouldn't even be second nature. But I could see where a kid would be afraid to tell their parents. That would, yeah. But yeah, we have to tell. We got it.
So yeah, a parent has the right to know if their child is being called a name or a pronoun that's not something that the mother or the father would want. The parent should have the right to know that. The school district should, the teachers should let them know. So yeah, a child should not go through an entire year being called a name other than their biological sex without their parents' knowledge.
All right, Mr. McKinney, this is, again, we'll try to make it as short as we can, and we're coming down the end here, but again, this is another item within this topic here. Is it appropriate for a school representative to ever counsel a student or help a student acquire a medical assistance to further the process of gender reassignment or gender affirming care without telling the parents?
All right, absolutely not. We would not even accept if a school nurse or a teacher was going to give our kids medication without our knowledge. But this is a life-altering decision. Students should not be led down this path by anybody in a school district. They need to be educated only. This is for parents to handle if that's going to occur in that family, but absolutely not. This is a life-altering decision for a minor. I really don't even think minors should be trusted to make this decision if they're under 18 on their own.
No way. There's too much to do besides counseling a child about their gender identity. There's reading, writing, and math. Let's get back to that. We do not have time to be focusing on what gender a child should be. It's the parent's job. It is not ours.
My answer is no.
It's not appropriate. It's not appropriate to provide medical assistance for medical care or counsel for medical care to change gender and not tell the parent. Parents need to be involved in almost everything that the child does. I say almost, I'm leaving for things I can't even think of. If I'm the parent, I want to know everything.
It's a no.
Yeah.
Mine's no. Let kids be kids.
No, the school should not keep anything from the parents. The parents have a right to know. Again, the parents are responsible for the child.
All right. I have a question here. I'm afraid it's going to take a little longer, but still with this in this topic. do you believe that the multiplicity of genders and LGBTQ agenda or topics, let's say it that way, should be taught in the public schools? And if so, what grade level do you believe these concepts should be introduced into the curriculum? That's a tough one, I understand. You follow my question? Should we be teaching this? For instance, it could be a school will have a day where they're going to say a special day for homosexuals in history. Who have done something special. These are the people, we're lifting them up in particular. Or through the fact is that, or teaching the concept of different genders and being equal or being the same, just different. You follow what I'm trying to say here? I think Ms. Karen. Okay, Ms. Karen.
I know you're getting tired of hearing me say this, but our job is to teach our children reading, writing, math, science, social studies. We do not need to be focusing on any of this. So no, I'm against it.
I'm against it too.
I think we need to focus on the basics. That's why we named ourselves the Dover ABCs. Focus on the basics of an education. In a time where our scores are going down, down, down. Now, I'm not going to say that Dover has not made some progress because they were lower than they are now. Dover's made progress, but nationwide scores are going down, and we're wasting time teaching about these extraneous social issues.
I just wonder where these questions have come from. I mean, I don't sit around my table thinking about some of these topics, but yes, all of these topics have a place in history. They've happened. They've fought through Congress to get certain rights. So yeah, by all means, you can teach it in your history classes. Does it need to be at a younger level? No, it can be at your high school if that's what you so choose. But yeah, I'm just not sure where this line of questioning is coming from.
So, yeah, I think the questioning for you is just in the nation general. I mean, turn on a TV just once. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, no, there's no room for it. I've had the discussion at home with my children to understand, so they're not shocked when they see something that maybe not be what they consider an everyday occurrence. But I do not think that there's room or time. I mean, Karen's 38 years a teacher. She would know. You don't have time to get away from the important ones. Reading, math, arithmetic, getting that signature together so you can, sign a mortgage someday.
No.
My answer is no, and we got to keep in mind every subject that we try and teach costs money. And when we're talking about being fiscally responsible, we need to look at this extra stuff that's going on and get it out of the schools, and let's get back to the basics.
Yeah, we've got to stop teaching divisive subjects such as sexual agendas and the racially dividing topics. We need to stop dividing and labeling everybody by their sexual identities, by their skin color. We need to just, if anything, teach students to love and respect each other equally. We should be teaching academics. We should not be teaching politics.
Okay. All right, I had one other question on that thing, but I think we've answered all that. All right, we're coming down to the very end here now, and we want to go around. I'm going to give them 90 seconds, all right, 90 seconds for this question, and we'll begin with Mr. Mulhauser, I guess, right? All right, can you give me one or two goals or priorities that you have for the Dover area school district? Anything in particular, one or two things that if you could fix it or you could change it or you would maybe promote it, whatever, what would those be?
Well, the main thing is would be if we could get our budget in better shape so we could maybe at least hold the tax line without having to raise or take money from our fund balance. But that's a big challenge. It's been a big challenge since I've been on the board.
We said this when we first started. ABC, restore accountability, get control of our budget, and manage the curriculum so that we're teaching the right things.
Curriculum, yes. We got to have more than 3 classes. We can't just have math. We just can't have English. We can't. You need to. We need to fill it in with other knowledge. We all had it. There's health class that teaches about sex ed. There's things like that. But for me, I'd get more into the topics of helping the students. This has been more about parent conflicts and parent issues, and we really haven't said what we were going to do to help the students. And that's what we're here for. I would like to see, like LIBE, for instance, very diverse community there. Personally, I think we should have a Spanish-speaking office attendant so that our Spanish-speaking parents can actually communicate with the school to help them. I think that's a big thing. I think we should work on fixing our math scores, our English scores. Yes, that all needs to improve. But limiting to just 3 subject matters is not the way to go. How are you, like some people don't go to college. So all you're gonna give them is that. What about history, science, things like that? There's a lot more than just the ABCs. Those are the things I would fix.
So obviously the big one, and Rob would probably love to do this, but line by line through that budget just to be completely transparent, and then post it where everyone can actually go and find it and see it. That's a struggle for me. We need to fix that website. But one of the goals I have is not only the signature, by the time you hit 6th grade, being able to sign your name, but I really think that we should instill almost like a business math course, not as an elective. So I would like kids who graduate to understand bank fees, to understand APR, to understand mortgage rates, to understand why that credit card that says 18% interest is going to be a problem real quick for you in college for those pizzas and those snacks. And when you overdraft one time, that combo costs you $39.40 because the combos were 40 cents. And then you think that that's okay, but then you do it again. This is a real life story of a parent who reached out to me during this run. These are the things these are life skills that we need to bring to our kids. We got to get them ready.
Can you repeat the question?
What are 1 or 2 goals or priorities that you have for the Dover School District?
So Dover's amazing. Dover's great. I want to do more to build community, and if I can do that by being a member, a director on the school board, I'd like to do more in that along those lines. One of the things, I don't know what's possible necessarily on the school board, but maybe utilize the high school for community events. I think right now it's kind of closed, but bringing the community together to make Dover a better place to live in terms of our children, their education. One of the things is I would like to make a positive difference in the lives of others by setting the bar higher in both academics and sports programs. I'm real strong on the extracurricular activities. If our team goes to state, you shouldn't find out about it. I'm not necessarily saying this happens. I'm just saying what's not happening is the whole community should be involved. You should see ribbons down Main Street, things like that, bringing the community together. I'd love to see that because we've had some state qualifying sports teams and you find out about it after the fact. So things like that, just building the community.
We've noticed in the Dover School District, we have a high turnover rate of teachers, administrators. That is one thing that I think we need to focus on. Why is that happening? We need to create an atmosphere where the employees enjoy coming to work. I think once we accomplish that, then happy teachers, I think, help to make for a better atmosphere for the students to learn. Please don't misinterpret what the ABCs stand for, that we're looking at 3 subjects. We're looking at an entire curriculum. We do question, are we teaching too many subjects? Are there subjects that really the students don't need? We don't know till we get in there and see what's going on. But we do have a high turnover rate, and I think that's one of the things that the new board is going to have to look at and try and figure out what is going on and then correct that so our good teachers stay and help us with academics.
Yeah, over the past few years, I've gotten really focused on the Dover School District, the business, the school board. As my kids have gotten up to high school and middle school, and I started speaking at school board meetings, I've really noticed there's a couple areas that need some help. Fiscal responsibility, we got to rein in that budget and that spending and try to help our tax base. It's probably especially difficult on seniors to be getting tax increases every year. We can't be having that. I know mine went up a lot. I know all of yours did too. We got to do something about this trend. And then also we need a curriculum that really prepares not only the students, but the teachers for success too, as Craig was pointing out. We need to retain our teachers. We need to help them do their job to the best of their abilities, because if they can do that, the students are going to learn better. They're going to succeed more, not only in school, but in life. So we gotta help out the teachers to help the students. And number one goal is going to be for the school board to be more transparent to the public and to the parents and to the taxpayers, because that's not happening now. You go speak at a school board meeting, they'll tell you, okay, sit down, next speaker, or they'll just go ahead and take the vote doing the opposite of what the public had just said they're against. So we've got to be more transparent and more listening to our public as a school board.
I like how Alan mentioned the community. I think that's a great way with the sports. We also need to celebrate our DECA students, our FFA, our CTE students. We have a lot of great things going on, and I like how Alan was saying maybe our community should be more aware of that so that they all join in together and celebrate those successes. Transparency, that used to be a word I was like, I don't understand what that means. Now I use it all the time. I really feel like parents should be aware of what is going on in their school district. They should be able to look at the website and understand and find things easily. They should be able to come to the school board meeting and feel welcome. When I walked in the first time, I didn't feel welcome. It's getting better. I encourage you to come. But they should feel welcome there. There should be plenty of space for parents, and I want them to feel like that they can be heard at the school board meeting. You know me, I'm a teacher. Curriculum is one of my loves, and I really hope that I can improve, make that curriculum the best that it needs to be for all students. I agree that financial literacy, that's really important, but I think that can be woven into some classes that we already have, and I think that we can make Dover even better than what it is.
All right, one last round, and this is our closing statement. And the clock on the wall, we've been here 2 hours, and we have burned you long enough. And I appreciate your good sport about all this. So we're going to, again, I guess we're going to start with Brother Conley, and really what we're asking for your closing remarks. The last thing you want the general public to hear from you, and what you're thinking, and your remarks to them as we close out this evening.
One of the things that I noted about attending the board meetings 2 years ago was that it didn't seem that the board was prepared to function together. There was no debate, no deliberation, silent voting, and that made no sense to me. There should be some delight in public deliberation. It exposes the topics, exposes the issues, and it allows a group of people to get to sound solutions when they hear all sides. So I would like to see that culture changed, and I think we can do that. We can do that by spending the time between now and December, when any of us that are elected would begin to serve, is studying the existing board policies, studying the state laws. And there, let me tell you, there's a lot of requirements placed upon our schools by state law. But the board members need to be aware of that. Need to be aware of the issues that are not just existing, but the issues that are coming in our direction, and be prepared to handle those things. There's a lot that we can't control. There's a lot that is going to be an uphill battle, but we'll do it and we'll accomplish our goals by working together and building sound relationships within and without, within the school administration and without into the community.
I would just like to thank you for the opportunity to come here. I think your staff did an amazing job. I'm very impressed on how everything was ran. I think it was great. Good job for yourself. As for my last comment, I think the new board, whoever it may be, one of 8 people up here, I think they just have to remember to work as a team, work with your faculty. Trust comes both ways. You have to trust the admin. They have to trust us. We have to trust our community, our teachers, and our students. We have to remember, yes, the community is super important, but so's the students. We're here to make all of these students in our district viable, that they can go to the workforce, to college, to the military. Myself was in the military, loved it. That's an option that I think the school definitely doesn't promote more. I think that's something that we should work on. But it's definitely teamwork, community, and the board does need to work well together. Thank you.
I'd also like to thank you for the invite, and thanks you guys for being here. I mean, you care because you're here, and you spent 2 hours listening to a bunch of people talk about their feelings and things. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I want my voice to be your voice. I want to be approachable. The goal would be to work with the principals. I've met with quite a few teachers already that found out that I was running for the board, and they were excited. And we've talked. I want to know. I want to know from you guys, what are your frustrations? And what are you happy about? You know, it doesn't always have to be bad. It can be good too. I mean, there's a lot of positive stuff going on in Dover. I don't know if you've had a chance to see the CTE program. That is amazing. Now, I've been fortunate. I'm doing a project with them, pro bono. But if we can expand on that, we can have kids from other districts coming to Dover to go to school. You want to talk about an increase in revenue. Let's not send our children to VOTEC if we can build that right here and get these kids ready. Maybe not everybody is a scientist. Maybe this guy's a welder. We need to put the children first. That's it. Thank you.
So I appreciate you having this and having us here tonight. I've continuously had children in the Dover Area School District since 2003. They now range from age 11 to 24 years old. And as a parent, I understand the importance of taking responsibility for my children's academic success and involvement in extracurricular activities. Over the years, my children have participated in a wide range of activities, including Envirothon, Spelling Bees, World Academics, Math Counts, Physics Olympics, Renaissance, Select Ensemble, DECA Nationals, NHS, Fitness Challenge, Marching Band, Chorus, School Musicals, Soccer, Track and Field, Cross Country, and Swimming. So I think I'm well qualified to know what's going on in the schools. And being one of my passions is track and field, cross country, and spending time with my kids. I'm a passionate person about the fairness and equality in girls' sports, and I will advocate for the integrity and safety of these programs if elected to the board. I've had 3 girls go to the state cross country championship. So what sets me apart is my unique combination and experience as a parent, coach, business professional, and entrepreneur. And I can bring this value and wisdom to the Dover Area School District Board of Directors.
As I said at the beginning of the meeting, I ran 2 years ago. Many of you people came out and voted for me as a write-in candidate. I thank you for that. I thank you for coming out tonight. I'd like to talk about the 5 candidates that are running as a team. We're 5 members of the community came together. We believe we came together by God's hand to form a slate of candidates who are like-minded on the critical issues facing our children in our schools. And yet, if you look at our backgrounds, and that's the amazing part to me, you look at our backgrounds and we're very diverse. We have Mr. Conley, who worked in the federal government. If you know anything about the federal government, they like to write policies. The school district operates on policies. You look at Mr. Hogan, IT specialist. You look at Mr. McKinney, accountant. You look at Mrs. Miller, a former teacher. And I myself have labor relations, employee relations, and business administration. Only God could bring a team together. I'm asking that you would consider voting for us. One thing I found out in the last 2 years is, and one of the reasons I believe I did not get elected last time, there's no doubt in my mind God chose for me not to get elected. And part of the reason is a single school board member has very little authority. It takes a team to make decisions, and therefore that's why I'm promoting us as a team.
Well, Craig and I must be sharing a brain because he just said everything that I was going to say about our team. I was going to go through our backgrounds because we make such a great team because of our backgrounds and our expertise. But since he already covered all that, I guess I'll go into just letting you know how dedicated we are. We meet every week for hours and hours, studying policy, studying state laws, planning what we're going to do, talking about topics. We're going to walk in there day one knowing what to do, knowing how to run this boardroom. We're studying Robert's Rules of Order so we can make proper motions and we can make the board function actually like a proper board, which we don't always see now. So I also agree with Craig that we were brought together for a reason, I think. And this ABC's slogan that you see on our hats and our signs that we put everywhere, we've been working hard getting those out. It's not just a campaign slogan, it's a plan. It's accountability, budget, curriculum, and we've got plans for all of those areas to make positive changes for Dover. And if elected, we're going to do it. Thank you, and thank you for your time tonight.
Yes, thank you all for staying and coming. And I don't know if you realize or know, but before this meeting began, all 8 of us met in the back hallway, and we all prayed together. And I think that says a lot about Dover. That says a lot about the people sitting at this table. That says a lot about you, that you were going to spend your time on this beautiful evening, that you were willing to come here and listen to us. So I have to kind of add to what Rob and Craig were saying. I am not a politician. I cannot believe I'm even sitting here. But I really do feel like God brought us together. I kept saying, no, I can't do this. I cannot do this. And I feel like I feel like I can do this. I know it's going to be a lot of work, but I am blessed to be with a great team. And I feel like for some reason we were put together to help each other and do the best we can for Dover, because it is a great place and we can make it better. So thank you.
Thank yous for coming tonight, and thank you for your support in years past. We made a change beginning of the year or end of last year to try and get more participation at the board meetings, but it didn't work out. We went away from having separate committee meetings to a large committee meeting on the second Tuesday of every month, and it has not brought people to the meetings to discuss anything. So thank yous again. And
Well, I appreciate you being here, and to tell you the truth, I appreciate you all sticking with us here for the 2 hours. It went a little longer than I wanted to, but I appreciate you being here. And I think we should give our candidates a hand for being able to sit in a hot seat for 2 hours. And you all are welcome to stay and chat with them as long as you would like. And we appreciate you being here. Now, remember, all this is for naught if you don't get out on Tuesday and vote. But now we know what we're voting for, at least when it comes to the school board. And I appreciate you being here. God bless you. You have a good evening.